The Chicago Bears make a trade for an offensive lineman amidst making other cuts, and rumors going around that Darnell Mooney could be on the trade block. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform that we're on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today. First up, the Chicago Bears have traded for offensive lineman Dan Feeney from the Miami Dolphins. The Bears have traded a 2024 sixth-round pick to acquire the six-year offensive lineman from the Miami Dolphins. Now, this is a depth move, right? Not a huge move. And if you remember correctly, he's going into his seventh year in the league. But if you remember correctly on yesterday's daily episode, one of the topics we're asking, are the Chicago Bears going to go after veteran lineman depth? And it seems like they have. Now, this is a guy who can play multiple positions on that offensive line. He can also play the center position. He can play guard. So, with that said, the Bears are adding a versatile depth piece. Not the most amazing acquisition by any stretch of the imagination, but they use a sixth-round pick to get him. They bring him in. He's actually from the Orland Park area, so shout out to him on that one. The mullet of the Midwest. That's what he's known as, the mullet of the Midwest. And he's now coming back to the Midwest, playing for a team that I'm sure he's rooted for most of his life, and we'll get to see him. We'll probably see him a lot initially, especially with the injury to Tevin Jenkins, but we'll end up seeing. I don't know if this is going to be a huge move. This may even be a move that, kind of like when us acquiring N'Keal Harry and kind of how he just went away and just got phased out. We may not even look at this by the end of the season and even remember this move necessarily happened. But with that being said, we did get an update as well on the offensive line depth in general as far as the health there. It looks like Matt Eberflus is confident that Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick, and Nate Davis, who've all been dealing with minor injuries, will be fully ready to go by the first regular season game, which is in line with what we've already been hearing. So no extreme surprises there, but hey, the Bears go out, they get an offensive lineman, they get some more depth that's much needed there after cutting like 5 or 6 offensive linemen yesterday. So, that the Bears, they make another move. As I've said before, one of the things that's different about this Chicago Bears front office is that they're always looking. They're always evaluating. They're always looking at how they can improve the team. And that's what you want from a front office that is trying to get a team from a 3-14 team to a team that's actually competing in the NFL next season. So, we'll end up seeing how much this pays off, how much we end up seeing Dan Feeney with the Chicago Bears next season. Hopefully it's not a lot. Hopefully our offensive line stays relatively healthy, especially after the Tevin Jenkins injury. But with that being said, we do have some more roster cuts. It looks like Barroning Wade has been cut. So that's a linebacker. He's been cut. So the Bears still have about 23, 24-ish roster cuts. They have over 20 that they need to make by the 4 p.m. deadline today. So it's going to be another emergency episode. Again, this is going to be a shorter daily episode because we are going to have the cut deadline special going down today after the deadline is over and done with. So you guys make sure you're tuned in for that. But yeah, that's the only other cut that we've gotten updated since yesterday. We also got an update on Elijah Hicks is actually switching his jersey number to number 22, which is the number that's currently held by Kindle Vildor. Could this be a sign that Kindle Vildor is on his way out? We could be finding that out sooner rather than later, but this is definitely a sign that Elijah Hicks is sticking around, which I don't think there is much question in that. Elijah Hicks is showing a lot of promise, a lot there, especially as more of a depth piece, right? And you want him to be able to play, that other safety role there. So, we'll see how it shows up. But Elijah Hicks is a player that I like a hell of a lot. I like what he brings, 5'11", 200 pounds, still a fairly young player at 23 years old. So, he's going to come in and be that in-between piece, right? Play some of those snaps. He can play either safety position as well. So he's going to get a number of snaps, and he's now taking number 22, which, like I said, he was number 37 before. That was a number that was previously held by Kindle Vildor. So you can take that for what you will. Now, before we go, we do have to talk about the Darnell Mooney rumor. So, Pro Football Focus Brad Spielberger actually came out and said that Darnell Mooney is emerging as a surprise trade candidate for the Bears either before or during the 2023 season. And so here's you guys know how I feel about media and things like that. And I do feel like this is a period where there's a lot of speculative pieces that are presented as fact. And when you look at it in the article, they talk about how, acquiring DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, being there now and having a good training camp, that could make Darnell Mooney expendable, especially with his contract situation coming up. And here's what my personal thoughts are on it, right? And this is completely personal. This isn't like any insider knowledge or anything like that, but completely personal opinion on it is there's no way in hell that the Chicago Bears, well, let me not say no way. There's a very slim chance that the Chicago Bears look to trade Darnell Mooney, who's Justin Fields' best friend, the person he has the most chemistry with. Yes, him and DJ Moore's chemistry is well ahead of schedule, and that's a good thing. But when you're going into a season where you can't bet on Chase Claypool's health, right? We don't know. It's not like Chase Claypool has this large sample size as a number 2 for the Chicago Bears where you can feel confident in moving Darnell Mooney. Yes, I do think that with their 2 first-round picks next year, the wide receiver could absolutely be a target in the first round for the Chicago Bears. I absolutely do think that. But I'm not going to necessarily say that they're just going to jettison out Darnell Mooney, who's been here for a while. Yes, he wasn't drafted by Ryan Poles, and we know that. But I definitely don't think there's any way in hell it's done before the season. Not only the fact that we only have a couple of weeks before the season starts, but I just don't think so. I think that this team is going to want to take as many looks at this full wide receiver core. Listen, Justin Fields had little to no weapons last season, right? And health and everything up and down that roster and the issues there. I don't see the Chicago Bears taking away a player that is a safety valve in a lot of ways for Justin Fields, along with Cole Kmet and things like that. I don't see them taking that away and trading that unless, now let's say some things. What are the scenarios in which it would happen, right? Let's say that the season starts, the Chicago Bears are rocking and rolling. DJ Moore and Chase Claypool look amazing. Darnell Mooney's kind of looking so-so. You got Tyler Scott there who has some promise. And the Bears say, hey, rather than get into this contract negotiation, let's see where we can get it out in the open market. I do think that that is a possibility, right? A small one. But there's also an equal possibility that Darnell Mooney, with now having a true number 1 in DJ Moore there with him, that he shines in that role. And if he does, I don't see them just sending him away. I don't see that happening. Now, I could be wrong on that. I want to hear from you guys on what you think as far as hearing the trade rumors when it comes to Darnell Mooney. But the way that I look at it, I just don't see it happening. I don't personally see it happening. But I've been wrong on a lot of things. Like Darnell Mooney is just, he's of course one of Justin Fields' favorite weapons. He's one of Justin Fields' best friends outside of football. He's somebody that's always put in that work ethic. He's there in the offseason with Justin Fields. And while that's a lot of things, and I know it all comes down to progress on the football field, right? That's one of the things that I talked about yesterday with Ryan Poles, removing Alex Leatherwood and PJ Walker, cutting both of them, even though they had guaranteed money left, that Ryan Poles is looking at value, and he's not afraid to lose out on money if it means somebody who's not going to be able to help this football team. But we're not talking I don't think anybody questions Darnell Mooney helping this football team. They may question what his role is going to be and how much he's going to be able to step up now with the wideout like DJ Moore there. But I personally don't see it happening. I think that this is just something that is there to garner clicks and things like that. But again, even with that said, I can't say that they won't explore, because if you get a great trade package back for him and Chase Claypool is also looking good, and you feel confident that you're going to go out and get a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a great wideout in this draft, you may look to do some things, right? You may look to do that. But I'm just putting it right now and where everything stands with all things being even, as a slight possibility, not a huge possibility, but a slight one. And there is a chance that could happen, right? But I don't see it. I don't see it hugely being something that's going to happen. But you guys let me know. Like I said, sound off down below. Let me know what you think. You hear these Darnell Mooney trade rumors. Do you think that they are legit? Do you think that the Bears could look to trade Darnell Mooney by the trade deadline? Do you think they should? I know somebody like C-Dub, one of the co-hosts here, isn't as high on Darnell Mooney. And so, if that mindset is shared by any of the Bears brass and front office, they could look to it. And even though, yes, he's Justin Fields' best friend and stuff like that, he could absolutely say, hey, listen, this is business over everything, and we're going to go out and get an even better weapon, we feel like, in the draft that, it's going to be a better cost-controlled contract, right? Maybe even somebody with a higher upside than Darnell Mooney. And, we could see, coming into the season, a lot of the common mindset was it's going to come down to either Chase Claypool or Darnell Mooney. And, that may come down to who they feel they can get the most value back, especially if both players are looking pretty solidly. I don't know if that changes much with the Chicago Bears getting a wideout in the draft. I still think that's going to be on the high list of their priorities, as well as probably edge, things like that. But we'll end up seeing. Now, of course, this is cut day. By 4 p.m. Eastern time, the Bears roster must be at 53 players. And so let's talk about some players that still have a possibility to be cut. And Trevis Gipson is still one of those players. I know I seen you guys in the comments and saying things like, oh, well, Trevis had a solid preseason and look at this. But let's be clear. Trevis also asked and requested a trade. And because of that definitely puts that timer on that and that possibly on that regardless of how you feel like he played or not. Another one that, I don't agree with either, but that's been listed by a lot of outlets is D'Onta Foreman. I don't see it. I don't see them giving up somebody who is a vet. That it would be a huge surprise if D'Onta Foreman is listed, or D'Onta Foreman. I've been saying it wrong for a while. D'Onta Foreman is listed as ends up being one of the players that's cut today, because while Roschon Johnson has showed a lot, and I still think he's eventually going to be that running back one for the Chicago Bears, you have a veteran presence there that for sure what you're going to get, right? You don't have to worry about how the progression and things like that. D'Onta Foreman, at least for this 1 year that you have him under contract, what you're going to get from him. So, we'll see that. Again, it really comes down to if they're that high on Roschon, if they are just blown away by Roschon, there's a possibility for that, especially when you look at having Roschon, having Travis Homer still there. But if D'Onta Foreman does end up being one of those cuts, I'd be extremely surprised by it. And so another one is EQ St. Brown, right? He's lived to see another day so far after the cuts yesterday, but I still think that there's that possibility there. And we'll end up seeing. I think that it would still be a slight surprise if EQ St. Brown is cut, not because he played amazingly well, but when you look at them already cutting Webster and Fontaine, like it's. I don't know, man. It would be a little bit of a surprise, but not a huge one. So you still look at Velus Jones Jr. I think with Dante Pettis being on the injury reserve, that kind of almost locks in him and EQ St. Brown. But you just never know. It could be something that the Bears could do. Next up is absolutely, come on, who I mentioned in every one of these lists, Kindle goddamn Vildor. Especially now that Elijah Hicks has taken his number, he's absolutely one of those players that I think is going to be cut as well in that time. So, we'll see. It's going to be a fun day for Chicago Bears fans. Keep your news up. If news does happen on cuts, I'm going to try to get an emergency episode out, and then we'll still have our live stream going over the cuts, the final 53-man roster, all those things like that. Some of the players that I personally think and want to see absolutely make that 53-man roster. Of course, Tyson Bagent is one that he's solidified. He's going to be there. Terrell Lewis as well, for me, is a player that's young, showed some promise. I absolutely want to see him stay around. But we'll end up seeing, man. Let me know your guys' thoughts on everything down below. You'll definitely be seeing my face again before the end of the day. Make sure you guys are following the channel at Shy Bear Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the episode, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. Thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on Chi-Town Up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.